Okay, now we've got this 1959 Zenith C725 AM FM radio here. Got your loudness, tone, and volume, and FM and automatic frequency control, and AM. Got this thing, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, I guess, and it's been sitting around, and it worked the last time I plugged it in, but I think it's got a lot of the original capacitors in it, and it probably just needs to be gone through and be recapped. So I'm thinking I'm gonna get started on this one and see what all it needs, but I think I'm just gonna go ahead and plug it in and see what we get. It's probably got dirty pots from sitting up. Not really picking up much of nothing. Yeah, we got something going on. It's not picking up any FM. Let's see if we get anything on AM. Looks like we got a dead AM and FM, nothing. Okay, well, let me get this thing cleaned up and see what's going on with it. Okay, so I found a problem in here. This tube 12AT7 was literally busted. Don't know how that happened, but let me see if I can get that thing out, and I do have a suitable replacement here, so let me try to dig that thing out and see what happens. I thought it was funny. I looked down, it wasn't lit up, and then unplugged it, took a wiggle at it, and it was busted. Alright, let's see what happens. Warming up. There's our busted tube there.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. You may qualify for free tickets, patches, or gum.
See if we have FM. Yes, we do.
Well, I want to share a scripture.
Busted
and this
tube.
scripture I'm going to share is an encouragement for our 2015. It's Amos 9, verses.
That was a reception drop. or something. I got a suspicion that this thing doesn't get very loud. I got a suspicion the power supply is probably not putting out enough power, because it's got one of these selenium rectifiers on it, and those things have a tendency of going bad, getting weak and not supplying the radio with enough power. I don't know what's going on. It sounds fuzzy. I better turn that down because I don't want the copyright police. But anyway, yeah, I think it might have a weak power supply in it. So probably have to take some voltage readings and find out what's going on with it. But at least I got it operational now, so we can move on to other things. Okay, so I opened this thing up and it looks like something ignited in here and caused a fire. And not exactly sure what actually caught on fire. It looks like almost like this ground wire here melted. But it's just a ground wire. Unless something shorted with it, I wouldn't think that a ground wire would cause a fire. But this capacitor, this is the bottom side of one of those canned capacitors, could be the culprit. But it doesn't really make any sense because the radio still plays, and I would think if the capacitor shorted and caught on fire, that the radio wouldn't work, or I would notice a hum because it's a filter capacitor. But looks like can't shine the light here. It's like this resistor right there. Then you got three hands. This one here looks like that one is pretty melted up. It's a 100 ohm resistor. I checked the resistance and it was 134 ohms. So it's out of spec, so I'm gonna go ahead and replace that one. Okay, so I figured out what all the scratching and staticky was. Seemed like there was a loose connection in the radio, and I kept going back and forth touching stuff, and it would scratch and break up, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And finally I traced it to this tuner. This tuner is unlike any I've seen before in the fact that this is a regular 2-gang AM tuner, but this here, these two little springs here, operate some plungers like slugs that go down. There's two of them. There's one here and one here. And as you move the tuner, it moves these slugs up and down inside of those almost look like little choke coils. Anyway, and this is right next to that tube that broke right here. But I've got the shield back over it. And but anyway, so I couldn't figure out what was wrong, and so finally figured out, well, not this one, But this one over here, the glue, these things are just held in by glue. And the glue had broken loose, it was old. So this thing was kind of free spinning. And I noticed that some of the stations I was getting was off the dial. And so I just determined the glue had broke loose. So what I had to do was just turn it to the part of the dial where the station should have been, and then move this back into calibration, and then I just hot glued it back to together so it would hold. And now you can go all the way up and down the dial and everything's normal, no more scratching, and it's clear. So that was my main problem. And I've been monitoring this selenium rectifier here. It's down to 107 volts right now, but when you first turn it on, it's like 150, and then it goes down and down, and it's I think it's gone down to 106. It varies from 106 to 109. So these things are really prone to going out, and I may end up ultimately replacing it with a diode and maybe like a step down resistor for the voltage, so I can get the voltage right. But for now it seems like the 107 volts is powering it okay, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. I want to say the schematic says somewhere around 100 volts, so it should be about right. That schematic that I pulled up online was kind of hard to read, so I can't really tell if it said 100 or 120 volts or what it was. So we're just gonna try to keep an eye on that, and if the voltage gets too low, I'll just have to replace that selenium rectifier. I replaced the resistor up under the bottom that that looked a little charred from whatever that was. It burned up under this tube, and that ground wire looked okay. It's just a little charred looking. But I replaced one of the paper caps, and I may eventually just replace the rest of the paper caps, but they're not anything real important. Most of the caps in this thing are disc ceramic capacitors, and usually those don't normally give too much problems. So anyway, I think I'm going to try to put this thing back together and just run it like this for now and see how it works out. But online they consider this a 1960 model. The chassis is dated 4/59. 4/15/59. So I guess it's a 60 model, kind of like cars. They came out the year before. So anyway, I'm just going to keep an eye on it and see what happens with it, but it's playing good right now.
I've been out there searching so very long, baby. Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law. So much for the golden future, I can't even.
Alright, that's gonna be the video on this 1960 Zenith C725C radio. Thanks for watching.